And I'm a parent carer who helps run the National Autistic Society Bristol branch. I'm a Bristol parent carer rep, and I'm also an administrator on a Facebook group called Mums Caring for Disabled Children. For a long time through these groups, I've found lots of families who think their children might have an autism spectrum disorder type symptom, but don't have a diagnosis, and are really struggling to access services. We discussed these issues, and it'd be great if you could tell us and everyone what has been happening.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Cross. I'm a Strategic Commissioning Manager both in NHS Bristol Clinical Commissioning Group but also in the local authority. And it's been a joy working with parents on this topic. I had various people coming up to me, like paediatricians, saying, you know, we don't want to rush to a diagnosis. But the fact this family needs support, and that totally made sense. And I met various families from various areas, and it's like there's something wrong, but we don't quite know what yet. But the families were struggling, and it's like we don't want people to be struggling while we're trying to make sure that we get the right diagnosis. And we don't want to rush into a diagnosis that it's the wrong diagnosis, because that often then follows a child for many, many years, and then they're not getting the right strategies and the right support because they didn't get the right diagnosis in the first place. So we set up this multi-agency group, and we reviewed all the different services that we could. Having recognised these issues, we started to use the term social communication and interaction needs to describe that all these children struggle with. So the problem, they have similar problems, but not necessarily have a diagnosis.
So how would you describe social communication interaction needs?
So if we put the next slide on. Oh, wonderful. Didn't even see a move then. So social communication interaction needs. So there are various areas of difficulties. So one area is about social interaction, and that could be verbal, non-verbal, it could be around your child's play and friendship skills. Another area is about flexibility and imagination, and it's about understanding and predicting what's going to happen. There's organisational skills, attention, repetitive behaviour, and there's something about what's going on in the brain about how they actually learn. Sensory processing, about taking in and perceiving sensory information, and sometimes there's too high or too low sensitivity in those 5 areas. And I think what we're seeing and understanding far more about that than in the past. And ultimately communication, and I'm not talking about like a language delay. We have loads and loads of early years children who might have a language delay, that eventually they will catch up. I'm talking about that communication, about understanding, using spoken written language, and that interaction.
Thank you. So can you tell us what was the first change that happened?
Well, the community paediatricians have been working with parent care reps on a new autism-like assessment pathway, which makes sure that there's a consistent approach across the city. And so they're assessing against those social communication and interaction needs. And there may be a range of outcomes. So very often a health assessment is just trying to identify what those needs are, and then for other areas actually to provide the intervention. Sometimes children will benefit from a therapy, in which case they may be referred to speech and language therapists, OT or physiotherapists.
Well, that's good news. But the assessment and the diagnosis process is only a small part of a family's journey. What else is changing?
Yes, you're right. Our multi-agency group wanted to look at the whole system and the whole journey that families may experience. What happens before assessment, what happens when they're at school, what care and support is available. So we agreed to look at the whole system of services and about who can access them. So to try to move away from this idea of you have to have a diagnosis in order to get the support you need. And we looked at numerous consultation engagement events and feedback on all sorts of services, both from children and young people, but also from parent carers. And it was quite stunning how the same, well, you probably wouldn't be surprised, there was the same themes kept coming up again and again. And so we've refined those into the 7 principles that we're working towards for all services. This is our aim, not there yet, as you will well know. So these principles are on our leaflet here. It's about better information, It's about being assured that professionals are more knowledgeable, and there's various training things that are happening to make that happen. About our services being more needs-led than diagnostic. We're doing that in some ways, and we've got a piece of work to do in other areas. That the services should be joined up and work together wherever possible. And that families, to acknowledge that families need support throughout that whole process, before, during and after assessment. And that, there's different age groups, and we need some consistency across the city, so it doesn't matter where you are across the city, that you get the same level of support. And that the support should be as early as we can intervene, so that we can avoid that escalation of needs. If we can try to meet needs at an earlier stage, hopefully, the family won't have that hard time they've sometimes had in the past, and it's better for all. It's better for you as a family, and it's certainly better for us and local authority of health.
Well, these are very helpful. I've been working with you alongside other agencies on a new system showing the journey a family would take, and this is summarised in the leaflet, which you all should have got when you came in. So what will we find that's different?
So in the middle of the leaflet, the leaflet that was actually in your packs, there was a little typo right in the middle where it says core offer. We somehow have managed to accidentally miss the word off identified. So in the leaflet that you were handed on the way in, it's the correct one with the correct word in the middle. But there's quite a high level of information in areas about what we're going to improve. But we want to improve our information so you can see, what's available, etc. We want to improve our short breaks, and I believe and I'm hopeful over the summer holidays we'll have a wider range of short breaks for children with social communication and interaction needs, not just those with ASD diagnosed. Those short breaks should be, like fun times with friends. So there's various things in that little section. And key to it all, I'm not saying what you're going to say, but key to it all, what we're going to try to do is make sure that findability is up to date, because it will be a journey for us in changing the services. And the best way is to keep this leaflet quite high level, but to find out the detail where we are on the journey, it will keep updating findability.
That's great. So is the work of our group finished now?
We want to do some more work, more in-depth work on things that are really quite difficult to solve. So we've certainly got some children with some seriously challenging behaviour with autism and that. We want to see what we can do to avoid so many ending up going out of county, and see what we can offer here in Bristol. And we want to intervene earlier around mental health, and we want to improve that experience of CAMS if children have got autism. We want to see what we can do to avoid crises. So these are really quite big things to tackle, but yes, look forward to working with you on those.
Yes, thank you. Let's just say as well, we look forward to working with you and the other voluntary agencies on these important issues.
Thank you. I think what would be really helpful is if we have a little conversation in a minute, because that was quite technical, but I think I probably you'll share your interest and keenness to address that. So because that was school, autism, emotional health, etc. So let's catch up afterwards. But yeah, good point.
Thank you.
The next news round is Emily and Pearl, please.
I'm going to try and stand away from the screen so that you can see. Just to follow on very quickly from what Rebecca was saying, is in your packs today are details from the Bristol Autism Team Family Learning and Family Support Hub, which is going to be a sort of new aspect of the autism team. But for those of you who have children, young people, without a diagnosis of autism, but with social communication and social interaction needs, there's family learning courses available. So do have a look. And also, Jo Davis, stand up, wave your hand, is here, and she can also answer any questions that you may have about those family learning courses as well. Okay, so my name is Emily Williams-Jones. I'm Head of Special Education, Autism and Home to School Travel.
My name is Pearl Kofi. I'm a steering group member of Bristol Parent Carers. I've also got one of my children has severe autism and learning difficulties. So welcome everybody to the space, nice to see you. So Emily, more than a year ago, we were hearing that parent carers were really struggling to understand the move from statutory statements to SCIN, to education, health and care plans. And they told us that their children's settings were also struggling. Our parent carer reps joined Bristol City Council staff for a big workshop about the problems. Can you actually tell us what happened?
Yes, absolutely. All the services and departments work together to develop a toolkit, which is called the Bristol SCIN in Education Toolkit, which explains how all the different procedures work and the paperwork that needs to be used by different schools, early years settings, colleges, as well as parents and carers and young people. Reps from Bristol Parent Carers and Supported Parents and Kids co-designed the toolkit with the local authority.
Sounds fantastic. Is it actually ready now?
It's been ready for a long time. So yes, we have the Bristol SCIN toolkit, SCIN in Education, which is available online on Findability, and I've put the hyperlink in so that if you want to follow that when you get home or back to the office or wherever you're going, then this is the link that takes you directly to the toolkit. It's been designed to let parents and also school staff understand the SCIN support process, so those non-statutory processes before an education, health and care needs assessment is requested. And it also talks through how each of those different processes work and who's responsible and who's accountable and how all of those different people in the sort of teams around your children and young people can contribute and be involved as well.
Okay, that's great. And I understand that the toolkit is actually interactive. Does that make it easier to use?
It does, absolutely. So next slide, Caroline, thank you. Oh, and on to the next one. So this is when you first go into the toolkit, you can see that we've got special educational needs support, which is SCN support, which all children and young people are entitled to if they're struggling in their school settings. And then we also go on to education, health and care plans, and then after education, health and care plans as well. But for today, we're going to look at the SCN support, first of all. So on the website, this is the Assess, Plan, Do and Review, which is known as the graduated approach to SCN support. And what you can do is click on all of so you start here in the middle, and then you can click on all of the different processes and actions so that you can help to understand what should be happening, and if something isn't happening, then you can draw your school or whoever's attention to that process as well.
That looks absolutely great. Is there a picture for the education healthcare planning process as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, onto that one. So this is the education, health and care timeline. And again, it is a statutory timeline, so there are certain tasks and activities that need to take place within those different timescales as well. And if you click on any of those different areas, then you can see the information that comes up. Okay.
That's great. And can parent carers also find all the paperwork that they need to use as well?
Yeah, so if you click on the Education, Health and Care Needs Assessment phase, or onto the next one, sorry, Caroline. Oh no, that is the one, sorry, yeah. Then there's an appendix of documents that come up. And what we're doing with all settings and parents and carers and other professionals and services, whoops, let me fall off the stage, is sending the hyperlink to those particular pages rather than sending out different versions of the same document. So that means that we get much better version control, but also it helps all of those different people, including children and young people, to be able to navigate the local offer website findability and to find out all of the information that's available there. So, for example, if for annual review or for an application for top-up or higher needs block funding or an EHC needs assessment, then there's a parent's contribution and also a young person's contribution as well. So it's just clicking on the link and it'll take you to the document that you need.
Okay, great. So will all the settings use this and get to know what the correct procedures are?
Absolutely. We have, across the local authority, we have SENCO briefings, we have SENCO conferences, we have specialist training for class teachers and learning support assistants and all the other key people that work in schools and settings. And as I said, it's about getting the information out there as to what's on findability and how all of those statutory and non-statutory processes work. The other thing that they can also do is only download the most current version of any of the relevant paperwork. So it means that if you're involved with a meeting, you're not then sending the wrong paperwork into the local authority. It's all up to date and relevant as well.
Okay, great, I understand. Is the toolkit interactive in other ways as well?
Yes, on every page there's a feedback button, which is here, which everyone can use to tell us about a problem with the information on the page. So, for example, if you spot something such as a contact number or an email or a named person is out of date, and you can also ask for clarification if there's something that you don't understand, and also tell us if there's a problem with the actual service that's being described.
Okay, as this is a website, can each of the pages be translated?
Yeah, this is something that we're starting to work on very soon. There'll be a button that can be clicked so that key information can be translated for different languages and needs as well.
That would be really helpful. Well, thanks, Emily. It looks as if a lot of work has actually gone into this. And, you know, we look forward to everybody using it. I mean, I should think you're all very pleased now that this massive piece of work is over.
Nowhere near over, Pearl. It's an ongoing process, and there's new information and advice being added all the time. There are going to be some brand new toolkits added to findability from the 1st of September 2017, so do have a look out for those. And also, what we've started doing is looking at producing information in short video form so that you're not reading through, or you're not being expected to read through masses of information. There's a brief 5-minute explanation as to how a process works or what needs to happen, which is then far more accessible to lots of different people. Just some other key messages. So at the moment, the pre and post 16 SEN teams are working on conversion reviews. So I just thought it would be helpful to you as parent carers to know about those processes and what the deadlines are. But the most important thing is to make sure that you are fully involved in these processes. There shouldn't be a situation whereby a conversion review from a statement of special educational needs to an education, health and care plan happens without your involvement and without the involvement of your child and young person. It was mentioned earlier in another presentation that we're looking at improving the quality of those education, health and care plans in terms of the content and how personalised they are, and also right from a very, very young age starting to think about those preparation for adulthood outcomes as well. If you've got any questions or queries that are specific to those processes, then these are the contact details for the SEN team. Otherwise, do start having a play with findability and having a read through and finding out where everything is. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Emily.
Thank you very much. Can I just say, in your packs, stapled together with that handout is where you'll find your findability card so that you know where to go. But also attached is the parent carer guide that Bristol Parent Carers, Supportive Parents and Kids have developed for parents, and it's been updated from last year, so you've all been given the latest version, May 2017. So that's in your packs, and if not, it can be downloaded from our website. Okay? So if we could come, have up here now for the last news round session, Susie and Nick, please. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Susie Robson. I'm the Family Link Worker at Claremont School.
And I'm Nick Clarty. Excuse me, so I don't go that through there. I'm on the steering group of Bristol Parent Carers and the dad of one of the children at Claremont. So, Susie's been working on a guide for intimate care for children with additional needs. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
I can. Parents and carers were asking for support with their children's behaviour when they were supporting them with intimate care. And that coincided with staff in school also having some difficulties supporting young people with intimate care. They were noticing change in behaviour, which was often connected with puberty. So we had much research and discussion up and down the country, and we realised that actually what we needed to do at Claremont was sort out something for ourselves, because nowhere was there anything that was really suitable for the young people that we work with. So initially we were just doing it for those young people, but on completion or on development of the plan, we realised actually this could happen for anyone, to support anyone with intimate care needs. Because it's not just another piece of paperwork, it's a working ethos, and it addresses the individual's changing needs, and it's inclusive of each individual. So every child, young person is involved in the creation of their plan. So we're working together in a consistent way for each individual, no matter where they are or who is working with them. So it could work in any setting with the same plan and the same young people. It's progressive and measurable, and it ensures that each young person is supported to develop skills towards independence, which we all know is very, very important. Another massive thing is that it safeguards our children and anyone who works with them. And it helps parent carers to worry less about their children's vulnerability.
As you can see, when we're talking about intimate care issues, and certainly around puberty, there's a whole lot of issues such as safeguarding and whatever. One of the things that came up for us really was, why do we need this? Is this not a standard thing that actually everybody looking after our children should be trained on and should be considering?
Okay, so during our research concerning other settings, we discovered that intimate care was an area of the school day, short breaks, hospice or hospital situations that was just being done to get through as quickly as possible in order to get back to whatever else was going on. Pressure on schools to hit educational targets has been great, so any time spent in hygiene rooms was time not learning, or was it? I believe we missed a trick. I can remember at Claremont when I was a class teacher, we had to be timed in the bathroom. Those days are past because we've now realised that actually it's a massive, great use of time. There's massive time pressure on parents and carers to get well-turned-out children and adults to school appointments and social engagements. So we think, oh, we don't want to take too long in the bathroom. What we found at Claremont is it actually, when we're all doing things consistently and with the cooperation of the person concerned, actually it's much quicker. Pressure on care and health settings to get things done has meant that our young people have spent a lot of time with adults doing things to them, not with them, and that is not right. I believe we have been missing a trick. Everyone has a right to know what's going on and to be able to make choices about what happens to them in every area of their lives. And this very fundamental area that happens several times a day throughout some people's lives is something that we need to look at. And it impacts on cooperation, confidence and communication and safeguarding in an area that's often full of anxiety, not just for the person receiving or being involved in their own intimate care, but also families and carers and staff at school.
The children at Claremont have a wide range of additional needs. Is this just for complex needs children?
Initially, when we were beginning on this journey, we thought that might be the case. But now we've realised that an intimate care pathway can be created with anyone who needs support with intimate care and has issues around communication, whatever form that takes. This can include children in nurseries and children's centres who I've already worked with, people of any age in hospitals, hospices, residential settings. Every child who comes to Claremont will have their own intimate care pathway, which can be shared with other settings who support them. Some families would use them to provide consistency of procedure and vocabulary for their child, so they're using them at home as well. Intimate care pathways are reviewed as part of the school's review system so that progress can be measured, targets discussed and developed, so it's an acceptable part of education to tick those boxes, which obviously for all of us are not the most important thing, but they're just something that has made it much more acceptable and accessible to be part of the school day. And they would move with people up through school. So all the children in the foundation stage at Claremont now have them, and they'll just get reviewed and updated, move with them right through to adult services and hospital and hospice and short breaks. They can be shared with other settings and they go with them when they leave school. So I have done some work with adult services so that they know what our young people, what their intimate care pathways are.
So how is this going to be shared with other schools? Is it going to be outside Bristol as well? Because if there's no standard way of doing it, this would seem to be quite important.
I think it is. It seems to have become my life's work. It started off as sorting out a few children from Claremont. But yes, I have started working with other schools in Bristol. At the moment, we run workshops at Claremont or I will go to other schools. Ilminster Avenue have just got all their children with intimate care pathways, and they've got an intimate care pathway champion who's making sure that everybody's on board, and that that people do understand what they're doing, and so on, and it doesn't just become another paper exercise to refer to very rarely, that it's a working document, so if you get supply teachers or whatever, LSAs or whatever, then they can also slip into it immediately. So yeah, and in fact there is a workshop tomorrow, and I'm very happy to work with other schools. So sometimes when I've worked with mainstream schools as well, where they have young people who have intimate care needs. So yeah.
And outside of schools, the hospital is one place where intimate care needs for children with additional needs is really important.
Absolutely, and most of the parents, carers that go to hospital, certainly with the children that I know, young people that I know, do not leave their children there, except to maybe go for a cup of coffee, but they do all the intimate caring when they're in hospital. As many of you know, it's an exhausting situation. However, I've been meeting with Martin Wood, who's the disability lead nurse there, and he is very, very keen that the intimate care pathway form goes on the back of the children's passports, hospital passports. And he's asked me, will I come and speak to nurses? Because I find often nurses, they want to look after our children in the way that they look after everybody else, but they find the communication difficulties rather hard. So we always try and go in from school, and parents obviously try and make sure that the nurses know how to communicate, but changes of shifts and things, it makes it really difficult. So I see this as a massive way forward if we can get it in the hospital passport, and the passport is used.
So this is at Claremont, this is rolling out to other schools, this is potentially in the hospital. As a parent though, how do I get hold of it? This is being done to us, not with us, isn't it?
No, we don't ever do that, you know that. So in school, we know that we are going to do this in school, and that if people take it on out of school, then that is absolutely brilliant. So what we've been doing is we've been working with each young person and the class team and getting a plan that suits them for the time up together, and then that plan is shared with parents. I've run several workshops, drop-in sessions with parents talking about growing up with communication difficulties, but with this as a central issue. And so then it would go home to parents, they have their little bit of input, but obviously in school that is the way we're doing it, and at home it is different, because it's different working with your family than it is working with people who are professionals and paid to work with you, and there has to be a difference to safeguard the young people, really, to make sure that they know this is almost a medical procedure, a contract that you've entered in together, so that they feel safe and secure about that, and don't feel embarrassed or unsafe at any time.
So
you can get hold of it,
yeah.
So we'd share it with you. Currently I'm writing a booklet, I've been doing it a long time, and it's about growing up with communication difficulties. I've been working with Jude Lieberman, who's an educational psychologist, who came up with this with me, and we've decided that the centre of everything we do has to be obviously about the young person, child or young person. So the intimate care pathways is a huge chapter in that book, and all the other things sort of feed off that. So that'll be available soon. Bristol City Council have been really interested in the work that we're doing. However, I am going to need to approach them again, because That was 2 years ago when we first started off on it, and obviously roles have changed. I need to recontact people. So I think we all need to keep communicating. I'm a great believer in that. I'm totally committed to developing this area of work. Jude Lieberman's so committed, she's doing her MA in it now, and we really hope to share it with everybody who wants to be involved with it. All it takes is one adult from each setting, or somebody thinking at home, yes, I would like my child to have this, and we can support with that. Because it's really not rocket science, it's very practical.
Brilliant. Susie's details are available up there on the slides in the pack, and if you want further information, come talk to her. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lovely, thank you very much. That's the end of the morning session. As we've got a very full afternoon session, I would like you all now to get up and file out to get your lunches. If you ordered special dietary requirements, they will all be labelled.